The Jersey Swap podcast is sponsored by Apollo Home. Folks, Apollo Home wants to remind you that during this weird in between season of summer and fall, now is the perfect time to get your HVAC system checked out before the cold winter weather is here. We're bringing back the $29 coupon for CST listeners for your preseason furnace tune up. And as always, keep them in mind for any electrical or plumbing needs. Give them a call, send them a text, or schedule online at apollohome.com. Okay, friends, welcome back to the Jersey Swap podcast and congratulations to the Orange and Blue. Your team has qualified for the 2025 MLS Cup playoffs thanks to their 2-1 victory over Nashville SC. A team that might not be in the playoffs at the end of this season. Believe it or not, it's your 2024 MLS Cup champions, the LA Galaxy. They went an entire half season before they could win their first match. They still have a ton of talent there. So we cannot deny that Greg Vanney's squad poses a significant threat, but it's still a head scratcher. Did all the changes made in the preseason sort of doom the Galaxy this season, make them tread water? How should fans really approach this upcoming match? So we're bringing in Edgar Zuniga from News Across the Galaxy to give us an inside look at one of the most decorated teams in MLS history trying to get their head above water. Let's bring him out onto the stage. Edgar, welcome to the podcast tonight.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's quite an honor to be on here with you. I'm a big proponent of fan media within MLS. I always tell my good friends within MLS fan media, that traditional media can only do so much, especially in MLS,
Mhm.
because it's so curated nowadays. I mean, not curated, but I'm sorry to say it's so polished, right? It's got that almost manufactured feel to it, but you want to get the real flavor. You want to know what's really going on, with
Mm.
none of that, none of that polished feel, like kind of like WWE, right? These days, you go to fan media, and
Yeah.
I think everybody is doing a fantastic job. I always tell people, you guys are real journalists, and because you're doing, a great job of curating the history of our games. So thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I mean, from what we spoke about in the backstage area, you've been working with the Galaxy a long time. So as much as say it's a new car smell, maybe and sometimes that manufactured feel of MLS, you've been doing a lot of work covering the Galaxy. Can you maybe give us maybe not your cover letter, but how you got introduced in the Galaxy folklore?
I've been a fan of the sport since I was very little. I remember just hearing about the World Cup in '82 when I was very, very young. I know that's a long time ago, but when I really paid attention was in '86. People always ask me, what is the greatest goal you've ever seen? I saw the hand of God, and then later the goal that Maradona scored against England. That to me is the greatest goal I've ever seen with my own eyes. So that love was always there. I always wondered why we didn't have our own team in LA. There were several teams that came through, but it wasn't until after the World Cup that the excitement for our local team started to really ferment within me. Like I told you backstage, I spent all my money during my college years to go to every Galaxy game I could in '96. But in '97, I was already the sports editor at my university's newspaper, and I was able to turn that into a press pass with the LA Galaxy. So I covered the team since 1997. I did it for about 4 years. Then, real life takes over. But every now and then I would keep coming back and forth. Throughout the entire time, I was always working as a journalist. I was the senior staff writer for Dub magazine, DUB, Automotive Lifestyles. I interviewed hundreds of celebrities during the time I was there, and in the background, I was also working as an editor, writer, everything, jack of all trades for Yanks Abroad. So I was still interviewing people, still doing a lot of stuff like that. And then in 2013, I got a chance to go back into the MLS locker room. I covered LA Galaxy for that whole year, but it was so different. Things had changed so much since the pre-Beckham years, and I really miss hanging out with my friends down in the stands. So at the end, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go back to the press box anytime soon. But then right before 2020, I joined News Across the Galaxy, a podcast that was started by our good friends Eddie, Chewy, and Bryant. They're not here tonight, obviously, but I joined them and I told them about my experience, and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, jump on." I came in, and the rest is history. I've been with News Across the Galaxy, NAG, since then, and I'm in charge of a midweek show where we have guests from other podcasts come in, and it's become a very popular segment on our show because we get to showcase the footballing culture from other teams and learn about their teams, and also get information that we can't just get from online, but we get it from the people themselves that cover the team. So that's what I've been doing. As far as my 9 to 5, I'm a technical writer for a PR firm. Not as exciting.
It gets the money through the door. I mean,
Yeah.
you're able to do what you love and support what you love. Were you there for the 2014 MLS Cup when they won against the Revs?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I was there. I was there for every MLS Cup since 2011.
mm.
So were you there?
I was there as a Revs fan. So
I'm so sorry. I'm so
always the
sorry.
bridesmaid, never the bride. But I mean, that was such an incredible experience just to go on the road for another MLS Cup. I'm 0 for 2, I believe, in MLS Cup so far that I've gone to. So, but back then, I mean, it was such a splendor to go to a soccer specific stadium and to see such a great event with a sold out crowd that didn't feel like a football game or a baseball game that was sold out. It still had a lot of good connection to it. But also a lot of FC Cincinnati fans are going to, if they make this trip, this will be their first trip ever to see the Galaxy there. Can you maybe sort of give us a little bit of a 411 on what to expect walking into the stadium?
Well, there's a lot of tailgating beforehand. You might notice that there's a lot of tailgating in the parking lot, and there's a lawn area kind of to the north of the stadium. There's like an area. There's a lawn, and there's a fence, and there's a lot of people that tailgate there. Different some of the minor supporters groups hang out there. Like my good friends with the South Central G's. Shout out to them. Much love to them. They always hang out there. There's a group called the Inland Empire Galaxy fans, and they're gonna have a massive tailgate there. I'm gonna be there. If you guys see me with my Galaxy hat, look for me, ask for me, and I'll definitely introduce you, and you can get some free food, free drinks. Also, both the two major supporters groups, I mean the four major supporter groups have their own like little paddocks, I guess you could say, that are it's like an area just reserved for Galaxy fans. But the LA Riot Squad, they're one of the bigger supporter groups. They have like an entire section for themselves, and they welcome visiting supporters to come in and mingle and hang out and get to know them. Sometimes people swap scarves. I've seen people swap jerseys in there. So it's a good opportunity to meet Galaxy fans, that aren't going to look at you and be like, hey, get out of here, and it's like, hey, welcome MLS family. Um, Before the game, there might be a long line. If you have assigned seating, don't worry about it. You'll get in. You'll get your seat. If you're going to be ushered in early, I don't know if they're going to do that for FCC fans, but you're probably going to be sitting out in the sun for a bit. Um, the weather is kind of wonky right now.
I know, yeah.
It was 102 yesterday, and today it was like 89, and we're having thunderstorms. For over the next couple of days, and then supposedly on Saturday it's going to be 102 again. So I don't
Oof.
know what's going on, but the stadium is near the
Hydration break for
coast.
everybody.
Yeah, the, sta- the stadium is near the coast, so you get like a little coastal eddy coming in the evening, so the temperature drops like dramatically, like anywhere
Mm,
from 20 to 30 degrees just in a few hours.
okay.
Um, but yeah, no, come in, enjoy. We have a DJ set before the game. It's called "The Sounds of the Galaxy." It's really interesting. I would say about 30 minutes before the match starts, they have a DJ, or it can be any other musical performer. We had a heavy metal performer. We had people do cumbias. We've had people go out there and do classical music, and they're different artists, local artists mostly, and they perform before the match, and it gets you really pumped up. So they're gonna have a DJ this time around. It's gonna be very interesting. There's an area to the south of the stadium behind the south end. It's called the Galaxy Plaza. There's games. There's a lot of food there. There's different kinds of foods you guys can taste. You're probably gonna see the Galaxy mascot walking around there. Yeah, if you stop him, he'll probably take a photo with you. Most Galaxy fans are very friendly, and they don't have any grief. If they do, then I don't know what's wrong with them. It's probably somebody in an LAFC, somebody who's an LAFC
I'll just
fan
say,
disguised as a Galaxy fan, and we see a lot of those, by the way.
uh,
Oh,
I mean,
add
we
this to your bingo card. if you see an LAFC fan at the stadium, check it out because it happens more often than not.
We have our own warning signs at our own stadium saying, no yellow and black in this section of the stadium, no matter what. So I totally read that warning sign right there as well. Let's cover a little bit about how the Galaxy have done this season. I mean, I think a lot of us were particularly shocked that the Galaxy made it as far as they did, and then to face of all teams the Red Bulls, another team that seems to have been in MLS forever, despite their name, taking them down in the MLS Cup. But of course, last year's last year, this year's this year. Maybe we can talk a little bit about this season. It's sort of going into 2025. Do you feel like there were any warning signs going in there, like something where maybe you wouldn't be able to replicate what you did in 2024?
Not at all. At least not on the surface or beneath the first two layers. If you want to think about it like an onion, right? During the 2024 season, um, we kept reminding the people on our podcast, that our viewers, hey, you got to remember that this team is in the middle of a rebuild
Hmm.
because although Greg Vanney had been here since 2022, I want to say the team was in a process of a constant rebuild, especially after everything that happened in 2023 with the Chris Klein situation, the Klein out movement. And once he was gone, they brought in Will Kuntz, and then promoted him to general manager. He's a former general manager, assistant general manager at LAFC, formerly connected to the New York Yankees as well. So he brought in some of the players that he had come in contact with while during his time with LAFC, and Galaxy started to slowly build a team around Ricky Puig, who was already there. So we, especially me, I've been around for so long, right? I tell people, gotta be a realist. I mean, yeah, I can be an optimist, but I'm gonna just tell it like it is. I was like, you know, you got to look at it as like this team is in the middle of a rebuild. They might have some good results early on, but you got to look at the whole season. The whole season's a marathon, and but then
Hmm.
as the season wore on, they started to meet these benchmarks, right? And these passing these milestones. And I'm like, huh, look at that. They beat Vancouver in Vancouver. That never happens. They've only ever done it like three times ever. And I was there. I went to Vancouver. I'm a little cup here, but yeah, that was amazing. Like, wow, they won. And then they went several games where they also started doing well, and they put up some really gritty results against St. Louis, against Seattle. And then an argument started brewing among the Galaxy fan base where it was like some people were saying, especially the younger fans, they were saying, we're back, we're back. And the
Hmm.
older fans were like, no, we're not officially back until we lift the cup. And they're like, oh, you guys are boring. You got to enjoy it for what it is. We're back. And so the season kept going on, and at that point, I started telling people, "Wow, this team is. We're watching this team. They're way ahead of the curve as far as the rebuild is concerned. Um, and but they still had a lot of issues. One of them being that Ricky Puig was dead set on playing hero ball, where he wanted everything to go through him, and he
Hmm.
wanted to be the one to control the possession, and he wanted to run with the ball, and he wanted to force things to happen.
Hmm.
Greg Vanney was trying to implement a different style of play that was creating chaos in the box using the two wingers, Peck and Paintil. But Ricky Puig just wanted to play up the middle and do things his way. And then he finally got injured and midway through the season
You,
in a
you,
match
you
against
make
Chicago.
you make it sound finally got injured. You make it sound like that
Yeah,
was
no, for
the thing,
real.
the perfect storm.
Where he finally got injured, and then everybody's like, "Oh, this is it. This is when the season falls apart." But no, it didn't. It actually got better because Mark Delgado stepped up. So did Diego Fagundes. So did Gaston Brugman. These are players that, with the exception of Fagundes, that are no longer with the team, but they came in. Mark Delgado, amazing footballing IQ, very smart guy. He was able to work along with his Galaxy teammates in distributing the ball out to the wings into space, giving Peck and Painsil the space that they need to run, and then chase the wing backs and get around them on the corners, giving Dejan Joveljic time to get into the box and maybe bang one in, or they themselves beating the defender and then scoring goals. And at that point, we're like, wow, look at that. Galaxy went on to win three games, and then Bruges came back against LAFC, and he tried to do the same thing, and they lost.
Hmm.
And so then the following match, he was like, okay, I'm gonna buy into this. And after that, the Galaxy was unstoppable.
Okay.
That's when they went on a torrid pace toward the end of the season, and you could see Ricky Puig evolving as a player, where before he was like an uncut gem. Toward the end of the season, you could see like, wow, this guy is turning into one of the best players in Major League Soccer, one of the probably the best midfielder at that point. The way the camaraderie they had, the way he was running that midfield, and we saw him like a Pokemon evolve in that match against Seattle until finally, Rodon brought him down, and he played the rest of the match injured. And then Galaxy got to MLS Cup. Obviously, he didn't get to play in that game, so they win MLS Cup. Everybody is elated. I can tell you that I know people are saying how can you get so emotionally worked up because you guys have won so many times before. Well, every MLS Cup has been a struggle. If you
Mm.
look back, Galaxy usually struggles when they get to the finals. They usually either win by one or they lose by one. And this time, it was such a shock that they not only got past Seattle, but that they went on to win MLS Cup against all odds. When everybody was saying this is the year where where Inter Miami 2024 was supposed to be their coronation, right? Atlanta ruined that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then a lot of people were looking at Cincinnati. They're like, oh, they're going to be one of the ones. And then as Cincinnati went down, Columbus went down, and people were like, oh my goodness, what's
Yeah.
going on in the East? And then Galaxy got into the MLS Cup, and they won, and everybody was crying, everybody was happy, everybody was very hopeful about the following season. And then, as Bruce Arena once said, MLS abhors a dynasty. They don't
Hmm.
like it. He was there with DC United when they started winning, and then MLS did everything possible to dismantle those early DC United teams. You go back, you look at it, they made it difficult for DC United to keep the same roster,
Yeah.
but they still remain competitive. Um, every time LA Galaxy did well, the league would come in and take some of the players away and dismantle them. They try to do the same thing with Columbus. They try to do the same thing with other teams, except Miami. And so even LAFC, I mean, a lot of people are surprised that we talk about LAFC, but we have some good friends that cover LAFC. They're podcasters as well, and they tell us about their woes, and they're saying like, man, after we won the cup, MLS came in and dismantled this team as well.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
haven't been able to meet that same. We haven't been able to get back there again, and Galaxy lost four really important players. Dejan Jovalic, who has like I think 18, 19 goals now with Sporting KC. They
Hmm.
lost Mark Delgado, who I mentioned, very smart, great footballing IQ. LAFC is loving having him there.
I was
They
about to
lost
say,
Gaston
yeah.
Brugman to Nashville. Gaston Brugman, yeah, he's not going to put up numbers, but he does a lot of the dirty work.
Hmm.
And then they also lost Martin Cáceres, who retired in the offseason. He's one of those guys that's a locker room guy. He's the kind of guy that's kind of like a glue that would like a father figure in the locker room. And there's also a youngster in Jalen Neal who ended up with CF Montreal. So there
Mm.
were several players that were gone, and all of this uh, was pretty rough, right? And pause me if I'm talking too much. I just don't want to drone on, but we get to 2025. Galaxy makes some moves. They have a very tight space under the salary cap because
Hmm.
obviously the value of all the players went up over in the off season.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
uh, they just start bringing in players. They bring in Lucas Sanabria, a player who was playing for Club Nacional in South America, in Uruguay. They bring him in. They bring in Mateus Nascimento, who's playing for Botafogo in Brazil. They bring him in. They also bring in Christian Ramirez,
Mm.
from Columbus, right?
Of course.
Former former LAFC player, right? People are like, oh, he's supposed to be pretty good. And they start to try to build together a roster that they hope will make the Galaxy competitive in
Hmm.
2025.
At least tread water while Ricky Puig is coming back, right?
Yeah, and let me tell you, nobody here was expecting a repeat.
Hmm.
everybody was like, enjoy it while you can because MLS Cups are so hard to come by. Just ask any fan from a MLS fan base that's never won one. It's
I
it's
mean,
really hard to come by.
ask the other 29 teams in this league. I mean, it feels like there's so much talent, there's so much competition nowadays that it's hard to repeat. I mean, we're seeing that with even with a super team like Miami, it's hard to really replicate success over and over again. And maybe I guess that's the question. You named some of these players that have come in for the Galaxy to replace a lot of this talent that's been distributed about the league. Even Jonathan Perez, who also has gone to Nashville,
Yeah.
a lot of talent. Do you feel that the team did enough to replace that lost star power, or is this basically just another block in rebuilding?
Well, this is where LA Galaxy fans look at Seattle and they're like, why can't we be like them? Why can't we be like a Columbus Crew, right? Who won MLS Cup and they still remain competitive. Or you look at Seattle, who maintained this high standard of play throughout the years. But the thing that Seattle does, and I'm not sure if Columbus is the same, but the thing that Seattle does is that they have Brian Schmetzer's strategies and tactics all the way down to the academy level. So that as players come up, they know the Schmetzer way. So even if they're not up to the level of, say, a starter, you can take from those players and plug them into certain positions or situations, and they know what to do. LA Galaxy brought in players from abroad who grew up in different systems, in different cultures, learning to play a different style of football. And then they just did not acquiesce right away. And then on top of that, there were some injury issues. Mateus Nascimento, who I mentioned, a young kid from Brazil, he's got a lot of promise. He came into the season injured. Lucas Sanabria, who a lot of people thought would be able to shoulder some of that responsibility in the midfield. His second match, he went down with a broken collarbone in Vancouver. He was out for a while. And then Christian Ramirez, just my God, he's so slow, man. My goodness, his two speeds are slow and slower. He really slowed down that Galaxy attack. So a lot of issues, and this is where I don't know if we want to jump to this, but this is where I think you people ask what happened? How did things go sideways so fast and so bad? And it's a question that a lot of Galaxy podcasters, a lot of traditional media still cannot figure out. There's things you could point at, like you said, we lost these players and we had added these other players who has taken them a while to learn Vanney's system. You could also point at Greg Vanney. You could point at him. You could also talk about some of the injuries that have gone throughout the season. And, you know, when the team does well, when the team wins the championship, they have to remain healthy. They have to make sure that they're all on the same page. There has to be a strong identity within the
Hmm.
clubhouse that you could also it's palpable. You could somebody asks you what kind of team you have. Oh, they're gritty. They play for each other.
Hmm.
Um, so for the longest time, this team had no real identity. Um, there were like issues as far as to who's going to be scoring goals. It was just a big mess. And I mentioned Greg Vanney, and we have a friend named Bob Ventimiglia. He covers Red Bull for the
Hmm.
designated pundits. And before before the Red Wedding, where Galaxy Red Bull got massacred LA Galaxy 7-0, right?
Right, right,
We
right.
had him on, right, on our show, and we were like asking him, um, all kinds of stuff about the Red Bulls, and then he asked us the same question, like, what the hell's going on over there? And we're like, we don't know. And then he's like, maybe I can offer some insight. And he said that when Vanny was at TFC, when his players were healthy, when his players, were in good mood, they were amazing. They were
Mm.
unstoppable, right? I mean,
Right.
TFC was such a great team. But the moment anybody got injured, the moment people got upset, the whole thing just fell apart like a house of cards. And he mentioned that Vanny has a very difficult time uh, with that, like adjusting to situations like that. And we saw that with our Galaxy. A lot of times he would play players out of position or he would experiment with the formations. And these things were just terrible. So in the end, what I would say was it's Murphy's Law.
Mm-hmm.
Literally everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. Like you put together a checklist. There were injuries. There were situations where there were individual errors. There were situations and it was just, and I don't believe in it, but there was bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
And just they just happened to show up on a day where like nobody was really mentally there, and then they got smoked and stuff like that. So you take all these things and you add them up across an entire season and you lay them out, and this has been that LA Galaxy season where typically this happens to your club maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the year, and you
Mm.
shake your head and you're like, okay, let's put that in the rear view, let's move
Let's
on.
just move on, right?
But this would happen week in, week out, to the point where you're like, how are they gonna lose today?
Mm.
Now, if give me like 1 more minute, I'll explain something to you that broke me. And a lot of people have like laughed at the idea of a man crying about this, but I went from like happy tears right when they won the MLS Cup to the middle of the season where there was a stretch where they went on the road to Kansas City, New York, and Philly. So they go to Kansas City, and that's that famous game where Kansas City has no shots. And I'm not talking no shots on goal. I'm talking no
No
shots at
shots,
all.
right, right. Oh,
And Galaxy still lost that game on an own goal by Captain Maya Yoshida, right? So it's like,
mm-hmm.
oh my God, how do you lose this match?
And that was early in the
So
game too. That was like the 13th minute.
yeah, so they lost that, and people were like, that is incredible. So the following match was, like I said, the Red Wedding. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was the Red Wedding, at Gillette Stadium, or well, I'm sorry, Sports Illustrated
Let's
Stadium,
go straight. Yep.
up in Jersey, and Galaxy got completely destroyed. They even had own goal to at the end. It was just a comedy of errors, and Red Bull really wanted some revenge. And then they go up to Philly, and in the preview for that match, we had our friend Jimmy King who covers Philly, and he was telling us, he said, I think Philly is due for a loss. He goes, this might be a trap game. He goes, I wouldn't be surprised if Philly loses this match. Well, Galaxy was up 2-0 at the half. I was happy. I remember I was at my son was having a Cub Scout event. I was there and I was really happy. I was like, oh my God, we're up 2-0. I think this is it, boys. This is good. This is gonna be the thing that turns everything around. And then within 5 minutes, Philly ties the match. And then I remember like, on this group chat, I said, "Dear God, please, please don't let these guys lose this to death." And they literally lost on the last match and the last play of the
Mm.
match. And I remember I was sitting there, and it broke me. I was just like, no. And I didn't expect it to happen, but I had like a couple of tears come down. I was like, no, 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 this can't happen. No.
I wish I was there to like pat your back. I mean, you're explaining our 3 seasons in MLS before the Pat Noonan years. So, we would be there and we would see all of these, anything that could go wrong. When you guys signed Miguel Berry, I'm like, oh no, you brought in that guy, the guy that
Yeah.
ripped our heart out and showed it to us before he stomped on it. Just he's scoring like 2 goals within like the last few minutes of the game to take us down in Columbus. So we felt it. Unfortunately we also have to feel it again for another few games. The Jersey Swap podcast is also sponsored by Beyond Exercise. Beyond Exercise is a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury free. In fact, they help some of the local MLS, MLS Next Pro, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. I think the Galaxy are not eliminated yet, so they still have something to play for mathematically. Let's bring up, if I can, maybe some idea of what Vanney would play in terms of positions and people that are be available. This, I believe, was the win against Orlando to get you third place in the League's Cup. Can you maybe? I know that there are some names that probably will not play. I think Marco Rose is injured; he might be out. But can you sort of do you feel that this would be the best approach that Vanney would make?
Well, like you said, there's a lot of people that have been nursing injuries. Marco Royce, like I said, he's questionable. He has a thigh injury. Uh, Garces, center back, he's been dealing with a NHL style lower body injury. We don't know
Gee,
exactly what it is. That's what it
could
says.
be
Lower
anything
body
from the
injury.
waist down. Yeah.
Yeah, right. um, and but yeah, yeah, those other guys, they're probably definitely be in there. I really hope Mateos Nascimento, who I've mentioned several times already, he is fit to play because he's had such a great impact on the team since he started. Um, he was somebody who was there from the very beginning, like I said, but he was injured. He came in from Botafogo, and then his the first time we saw him was in a match against Red Bull, and I could talk more about him, in a bit about the kind of effect that he's had on the club because they didn't start winning until he started, until he began starting matches. But yeah, Captain Maya Yoshida, I feel like he signed a new 2-year deal, but I feel like he might not be here next season. So
Mm.
we might be seeing the last few games with him. Emiro Garces, player from Colombia, very exciting center back when he's got his head in the match. Young player, has like a short temper sometimes make some mistakes. He'll probably be there. Miki Yamane, he may or may not be there. There's a player called Mauricio Cuevas, who's also a wingback, and he's been playing fantastic. He did great in Leagues Cup, and he's somebody who a lot of people see as the future for LA Galaxy in that position. So you might see him there at wingback. Johnny Nelson, if
Former FCC
if
guy.
yeah, no, we love Johnny Nelson. Um, a lot of people call him John the Rock Nelson. I've heard some fans call him Nelly at the stadium. You've made it when you see Galaxy fans sporting your kit. We've seen a lot of people wearing the Nelson kit around the
Hmm.
stadium. Very quiet guy, but he gets the
Yep.
job done. But he's more of a stay-at-home defender as far as being a wingback. Galaxy has another young wingback named Julian Aude. He came from Lanús in Liga Argentina, and when he's healthy, he's very exciting. He's tall, kind of. He's getting a little stronger now, but he's a tall kid. He'll run up the wing, and you'll see him join the attack on occasion. And in the midfield, that's the big question
Mm.
because it's been like a rotating door as far as who's gonna be running things. Diego Fagundes, he had some days he's good, and some days he's more of like a rally killer, where they'll give him the ball and he struggles to try to filter the ball to his forwards. Um, Cerrillo has had a pretty good season. He's somebody who we've seen mature a lot since he began playing in 2024. Elijah Winder is somebody that I was personally very excited about because he came in from Louisville City with a pretty
Hmm.
good resume, and he's slowly become like a very good serviceable player for the team. And then of course you look up top, right? You have Marco Royce listed as a center forward there or like as a striker. Obviously he's not, he's kind of like in the middle where I think if you look at that lineup, I think Cerrillo and Fagundes, maybe Wander will serve as double pivots. Royce is definitely the man in the middle, probably working
Hmm.
as a center attacking mid. With and they might have Paintel play it forward, which we've seen a few times. And then Pack and the Paintel are kind of interchangeable. So that's kind of an interesting lineup. I'm looking at the more I look at it. Um,
It's an interesting
but
lineup, but it's one that worked for you guys against Orlando, one of the
yeah,
hardest teams to really beat in competitively. So something did work with that.
yeah. As far as Peck is concerned, he just came back from yellow card suspension, so he'll be available. Joseph Painsil returned from playing in Africa for his national team during World Cup qualifying, and he's somebody that, yeah, my God, I can say it's almost every player on the team that came back. A lot of not mental issues because that sounds terrible, but a lot of internal struggle as far as trying to capture that same magic from last year
Mm.
where you could tell that there's like a voice inside of him telling, shoot, don't shoot, shoot, don't shoot. A lot of fans complain that Paintil carries the ball too much. He dribbles too much. Whereas last year, you give him the ball outside the box and he'll find a way to score, or you feed it to him inside the 18 and he'll knock it in. These days, he'll get the ball and then he'll look up, dribble, sees Marco Royce is wide open, will not pass to him, and instead shoot the ball up into the stands. He refuses to pass to Marco Royce for some reason. It's something that somebody pointed out to me several weeks ago, and I've been monitoring it. And my God, it is true.
It sounds like, I mean, it's a team, like you said, they're in a rebuilding phase, that they're trying to figure out really what type of game they want to play. Um, and if we're going to go into 2026 with that, that's all fine and dandy. We'll see how they play a match up against Cincinnati this weekend. Let's really lay things on the table here in terms of what you're expecting to happen in this game. Do you have any sort of X factor? Do you feel what player on LA Galaxy do you feel was really going to be the decider in this game?
I can think of two players. The first one being, like I said, Mateus Nascimento. Nascimento, he's been dealing with a nagging injury. I think it was just either a thigh or groin injury, but he's a young player. He's kind of like a diamond in the rough. And
Mhm.
a friend of mine who lives in Brazil, who last season told us about Gabriel Peck and said, "You guys got a good one there." At the beginning of this season, he said the same about Nascimento. He said, "This kid's good. He's not at the level of a Peck, but he's got a lot of potential. And if you give him the ball, he's going to do some amazing things." Vanney was very reluctant to use him early in the season, but like I mentioned, once he started, Galaxy started winning games.
Mm.
In fact, the team did not win its first MLS match until his second start. And in matches that he started, which has been 10, Galaxy have only lost four times.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
I feel like, I mean, it's either him or Christian Ramirez
Right.
or Miguel Berry, right? I mean, come on.
I mean, it sounds to me like he's sort of in the same position that the likes of Brenner was in. You know, a young, up and coming Brazilian forward who really had a lot of stock in his talent. With Brenner, it got him to places, and now it's back with us. And so I'm sort of I would list him as an X factor here, at least one of my two guys. I'm also going to say Kevin Denke. If he can sort of break out of his funk and show that he can sort of be that power guy, you know, if Brenner's going to be the one that pops back and facilitates with Evander, then Denke is going to have to be that guy that runs to the post and distracts, and if not distracts, receives passes on the way to the post. So he's my X factor here. It sounds like both of us are sort of leaning on the offense being sort of a necessity in this game. Um,
Yeah. Sorry, the other guy I was going to say was Marco Royce.
hmm,
And I haven't mentioned him too much in here because I've just been mentioning things that have gone wrong, right? I mentioned like Mateus Nascimento is a good player, but he's been injured. Marco Royce has done things for this team um, that weren't really asked of him, right? Because
hmm,
when he came in last year, the whole team revolved around Ricky Puig, Peck, Painto, and Joveljic, right? And so you brought in Marco Royce, and a lot of people were saying, "Huh, that's odd." LAFC brought in Giroud. You know, you guys brought in Marco Royce. Maybe you guys should have swapped, right? Because Galaxy needed, more, like a more proven forward. Because although Joveljic ended up winning MLS Cup for Galaxy, he did have some issues early in the season,
hmm,
and we saw him also mature a lot, especially toward the end of the season, to the point where, like at the end, there was no question that he was, our top forward, and then he ended up leaving. But Marco Royce, he came in as kind of like, I don't know, kind of like garnish, window dressing, I guess. I don't know. Uh, you know, Adding his experience, a calming factor to help Ricky Puig throughout the season. And then Puig goes down, and this season it's like, what's Royce gonna do? Royce was one of two Galaxy players before the season who complained about how MLS runs things.
hmm,
Royce was there's a video of him on Instagram, and you can find it, where he's on a bike ride along he's on a bike ride along the beach with one of his buddies, and he talks about how stupid MLS is because a team wins a championship and then they get punished for it by having to lose players, and
hmm.
and they can't spend as much to maintain that their superiority. And I'm thinking, well, you came from Bundesliga, buddy, where Bayern rules, right? So
Right.
you're used to that, right? MLS is a little different, right?
Yeah.
And then the other player was Maya Yoshida, who before the season was on the LA Times and was dropping f bombs, talking about how uh, he he was willing to come back for the Galaxy this season, but because of the salary cap restrictions, he had to take a pay cut.
Pay cut. Yeah.
And the biggest reason though he was staying was because his daughter started to go to school here, his young daughter, and so he wasn't willing. He was not willing to move elsewhere because she had already put roots down. So that was a difficult thing. He's been carrying that the entire season. We've noticed that his play has kind of diminished throughout the year. Not taking anything away from him, he's still a great leader, very affable. But yeah, now as far as Royce is concerned, Royce has really stepped up a lot this year. Uh, he has been a leader the team needed, and he could be another X factor. On a good day, he could be the biggest difference for this team. If Nacimento's not available Saturday, look to Royce because I think Royce could prove to be the difference for this team.
Okay, so let's just lay it on the ground then. What result do you see coming from this game on Saturday? I'll say mine right away. While I have confidence in FC Cincinnati's away form, um, now that they've won enough to get into the playoffs, I don't know if the ultimate goal is still the Shield. So I think they're going to try to play cautious in this game. They've got Matt Miazga is likely not going to be available. Same thing with Roman Celentano. So you've got a few essential injuries that could be replaced on a temporary basis, but it's still untested. And we've seen what happens when we don't have the likes of Miazga down there being sort of the pivot, the man in control from the back. So personally, I see it as a draw at best, maybe even a loss for FC Cincinnati. What is your prediction?
Why are you guys always so nice to us?
it's,
Whenever
it's
I'm a guest on another podcast and it's like we're previewing the game, they're like, "Yeah, we don't expect to beat LA Galaxy," and then we get
it's
smoked,
it's
right?
it's history. It's we've seen this on paper, we've seen this in practice, we've seen it in application. So I'm not going to, last time I was there for a Galaxy game, we lost 2-1. So I'm actually being kind of positive right now.
Well, uh, right now things are so weird with this team because they just put up a really good result up in Seattle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a match where a lot of people expected they were going to lose. Seattle has been on such a great run of form, and I think that they're going to be one of the contenders to come, for MLS Cup as the season winds down. Um, I know a lot of people, Galaxy fans, and are also, Galaxy media have looked at this game and have circled it as a loss,
Mm.
or at best a draw. But things have been so in flux as far as the season is over. Yeah, they're not officially eliminated. They're kind of like a shuffling, Walking Dead thing right now.
Right.
And so um, Vanney has been throwing a bunch of young kids from the academy, young players. Like I said, Nascimento would be there if he's there. I mean, if he's available, he's going to be there. But there's other kids like Tucker Lepley, midfielder. Another kid, Asaya Parente, is another young kid that you might see. He's also in there. Um, Gosh, I can't remember. There's one more. I can't remember right now. He'll come to me. But there's a lot of young players that have been seeing a lot of playing time. Like I said, Elijah Winder is another one. And these kids come in, and my God, they are hungry.
Mm.
And I don't know if I mentioned Tucker Lepley. I might have mentioned him already.
Yes.
Anyway, so these kids come in and they're hungry. I know that the match against Colorado that happened here just a few weeks ago, a lot of people thought, "Oh, we're going to lose this match." Colorado's, they're on a run, and I don't know if Colorado prepared to take on the Galaxy's usual starting 11. But what Galaxy put out there was a bunch of young kids, a bunch of guys that are hungry to show what they can do before the season ends, and they went out there and they smoked Colorado. They were running circles around them, and I don't think Colorado was ready for that. So I don't know what kind of lineup Vanny's going to put out there, but if he puts those kids, it will be problematic for FC
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
these guys they have nothing to lose. Um,
And, that's sort of why, I put the idea of a draw and possibly a loss for FC Cincinnati, because I don't think they know what to expect coming out of this LA team. We're hoping for the best. A win would be beneficial, but this is a long trip for so late in the season that I think our expectations might be muted.
Well, but then the realist part of me looks at FC Cincinnati, and we look at FC Cincinnati as one of the strongest teams in MLS. And there's a respect, there's this level of respect that's there, and so I'm gonna go ahead and say Cincinnati wins this one. I'm gonna keep it nice, 2-1 FC Cincinnati. Galaxy scores one to give people like a sense of hope, but then FC Cincinnati kind of like shushes it away and says, we're one of the contenders, and we're gonna show you what we can do before the season ends.
Yeah, it seems like we've already switched jerseys. We've already swapped jerseys. You're the Cincinnati guy. I'm the LA guy right now. So we're gonna wrap things up. This was a nice talk about really what the Galaxy are going through. I think sometimes we look at what our front office has been doing here in Cincinnati, and we don't really think about what happens after we get our hands on the gold. So let this be a warning sign maybe to our front office that if we win something big, we can expect big changes also to come after that. So I do want to thank you for your time here, Edgar. I mean, this was once again eye-opening. Where can we find you guys if we were to contact you in social media?
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. Yes, anybody who is coming out to LA and wants to meet up, hang out before the game, maybe get some nice tailgate. You guys can find me on Twitter as Edgar Nags, Edgar Nags. You could also find me on Instagram, where I have different content on there. If I find some of you, I might even interview you, and you might end up on my Instagram. And I am from News Across the Galaxy. You can find us on Twitter as Nag News. We're also on YouTube at News Across the Galaxy. So thank you so much for having me on. I really look forward to meeting some Cincinnati fans this weekend, and hopefully one day get to hang out with you too.
Well, if I come back, I hope it's not another loss in an MLS Cup. That's all I can ask for. But if you want to listen to any of that stuff from Edgar's point of view, go and check out his website and his X account. You can check us out as well. Cincy Soccer Talk. We're both on that and on Blue Sky as well. If you want to check out our stuff on our website, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com, and you listen to favorite platforms. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. Listen to this. Listen to the live show. We've got a lot of things to talk about, especially coming into this last month of the season. Exciting for everybody. We'll see what happens after this one big long trip going back after. Hopefully it's another win for FC Cincinnati. On behalf of myself, on behalf of Edgar, thank you very much. On behalf of everybody from Cincinnati Soccer Talk, remember, keep your kit clean, and we'll be cheering you guys for another 90 minutes. Thank you very much, Edgar.